Okay, everybody's on? Okay, we're going to call the Select Finance Committee meeting to order. 10:03 on February 26, 2026. Approval of the agenda. I do have an amendment to the agenda, and that is the minutes. Minutes. I'm just getting ahead of myself here.
Yeah.
I do have an amendment to the minutes from last week, which popped up as Kelly Bennett as CFO, not Dean. So I just want to make that correction. So there's a recommendation of the Select Finance Committee meeting agenda for February 26, 2026 be approved as amended. Thank you, Councillor Bailey, Councillor Beach. All in favor? Thank you.
I'm going to do a little correction here. Your agenda, and it's not being amended, it's the minutes that are being.
Oh, so when I wrote it here, I should have wrote it here and you watched me.
Yes, sorry. I wasn't really watching.
So we're going to back this up, recommending the Select Finance Committee meeting agenda for February 26, 2026 be approved. Councillor Bailey, Councillor Bushel, all in favor. Now I'm going to add the amendment to the minutes from last week. So can your name stand, and is everyone still good with that? Okay, perfect. Thank you. And we're rolling. Okay, getting the bugs, shaking the bugs out today. Okay, so we're going to start with the general budget, final draft for discussion, and Bianca, you're going to take that away.
Yep. And just before I do, I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. This is our final draft within this finance committee meeting. This is not approving the financial plan. That comes to a regular meeting. So if council does, like, if we do not completely wrap up, there's a few tweaks and have further discussion at a committee of the whole. If council were to choose to do that, this will not be like, you're not green lighting this budget right now. Just so we're all on the same page there. Bring up general budget book, which is quite lengthy. So this was all the tabs that we went over, November meeting, December meeting, last meeting, and I want to highlight what's changed from the last meeting. So from the last meeting, there was an amount put in there for pre-election that was removed, $5,000. So that is no longer in this draft. The request for $10,000 from Eagle Valley Transportation, staff reached out to our area E-director to see if there was an appetite to fund that request through EOF funds, knowing that that service gives a lot of community supports for rural living. It supports a lot of the people that live in the community, work in the community, to be able to move around rurally. So at this point with this draft, we have removed that from the general budget and have referred it to EOF for $10,000. And with that, there was a few discussions with the area director on things that would need to kind of be worked around to have that funded on an ongoing basis, including some just an expansion of the board and an exploration of expansion of services for not just medical. So we can talk about that separately, but just want to kind of go over what's changed right now. Seniors Activity Center, have done a lot of discussions with them and talking about the services that that center provides. And being an activity center, there's a lot of exercise classes, Tai Chi, Wii bowling, games. So really, like, they do support a lot of recreation as a facility. So I've moved that under our recreation banner of this budget. So you'll see that in there. And in doing so, I have removed the unspecified age-friendly that I previously removed in the last draft of $4,000. So the net effect of that is $1,000. Shuswap Watershed Council has remained in this draft. So if council would like to discuss that, can. Unspecified, we had of $2,000 under the community supports. I have kept that in this budget. So if there is a one-off request, say there's an event coming to town that requests council support for $1,000. Council could do a resolution for that. That would require a resolution. So this unspecified here, it was there last year and, keeping it this year, in draft. And then the other, request that was discussed at the last finance meeting, the Sicamous Otters para hockey. Staff went back to kind of look at that request and what we do with other sports societies within town. So minor ball, minor hockey, figure skating. And we haven't, I wouldn't say we haven't entertained the request. We haven't received those requests before. And the district already contributes significantly to the recreation centers in this town. So looking at the arena deficit, for example, right now from the district of Sicamous taxpayers, that deficit is around 400,000. So we've removed that request in this draft. That could be if council wanted to. You could use some of your unspecified if you were to choose, but at this point, that request is being removed. And I've just added just some comments in this draft on that, and then just kind of a proposed plan going forward. So all requests to be directed to the Shuswap Community Foundation. If a request is not eligible for the Shuswap Community Foundation funding, a councillor may put forward a resolution to bring the request back at budget. So that would have to be supported by council and then brought back at budget time. So requests would just come in under general correspondence at agenda week. And if a councillor would like to put out a motion to bring it back for budget, that could happen, just to kind of more formalize that. And then, so our agreement with Shuswap Community Foundation would be renewed in 2027. So really that's a next council decision. If we would want to move away from that, tweak that, we could. If council wanted to explore tweaking that for 2027, we could. It would just have to be done before October. We're locked in for 2026. Yeah. I think that's all of my changes. One other change, which I got notification of, BC Hydro, they pay property tax grant in lieu of property taxes. One of their properties got reassessed for actually 3 years, and that's about they got a reduction in their assessment value, and that's about a $5,000 impact. So that has been adjusted for since we just got that information as well. Yeah, so with that, can talk about any changes any councillors would like to discuss or any past pages.
Council, questions? Go ahead, Councillor
Well,
Bailey.
I'm just thinking we should be talking about the grants that are in here, like we had a program last time, rather than just trying to deal with it in general budget book, because we really haven't had a vote on those. Should have separate votes on EOF and the Central Water Council, just to.
For sure.
I'd certainly like to go that way. We'll have a discussion about it.
Okay, so where would we like to start? The Shuswap Water Council. Councillor Busher, would you like to comment before we get into this?
Well, mine was more towards recreation and as part of a grant application from the senior citizens. So I guess we should do the grants, I guess, first. I mean, what I wanted to say is, I mean, I support the seniors 100%, but if you look at our November finance meeting where we went through recreation, we asked for more recreation, to fund more recreation. And now we've put $5,000 in there, but we haven't increased the recreation whatsoever. And we've actually taken away from the recreation. So, that's part of that grant,
Where did we take away from recreation?
Well, if you look at the recreation budget, it's smaller. We've taken away from what we asked. We asked for more recreational funding in our I guess it was our November meeting, our first finance meeting, and we've taken away from the amount we're putting into recreation.
Okay, and to that, we've probably shaved a little bit off a lot of stuff too, to get us down to 3%. So
Yeah, and it's, you know, like I say, I mean, if you read the support, if you read the seniors request letter, it doesn't say recreation programs, it's for janitorial, building maintenance and stuff like that. So it shouldn't be in recreation. It should be a one-off ELF fund or whatever it might be. I'm not sure.
Bianca, can that, we had non-specified $4,000.
Yep.
Can that just be switched to a seniors, another line?
I can move the seniors back to community groups. That's fine. Instead of
And then we vote on it?
How does that get financed?
how does that, general? It's all general.
Yeah.
This is just, we're trying to put, you know, supports to like certain buckets in where it makes the most sense. If we want to have it under general government for under community supports, we can.
So I'd be in favor of that. I don't, in my opinion, as far as seniors ask every year for operations and programs that they have in there, I feel like that's necessary for us to do. And the seniors do a lot for themselves to keep their building going with their lunches and things like that. So I think that we should find that $5,000 and make it, put it into community funding or wherever we can build it in. So it is there and they don't return every year asking for $5,000. I think it's fair that it's about time. They don't have to come and ask. It's just, it's there for them. Councillor Beach.
Yeah, you're the chair. I support that. Our seniors deserve that level of support at this point, and they're trying to maintain a center and programs, and I think that's the very least we can do to support them, so I agree.
Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I just want to make sure what we're talking about here is that we're putting them permanently into a budget line. That's what you're suggesting.
That's what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
So that if we're going to go with the plan that Bianca's suggesting, where people aren't coming here every budget to ask for money, we need to allocate and secure money where it should go and then shut off the requests unless, like Bianca said, a councillor wants to take something and spearhead it and bring it to budget, then they can do that. But other than that, we won't have any requests coming in.
So my understanding is the $5,000 is for janitorial support.
Maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's something I'd like to suggest, because I'm always concerned about creating precedent here. It's for one group and then there's need everywhere. Why don't we as a district take over some of the maintenance and janitorial support through our contracts of that building and do it that way rather than doing a grant? So if there's janitorial and maintenance needs there, we can handle that as part of regular building maintenance rather than creating a precedent of giving a grant. That could be real support to the seniors on an ongoing basis, but that also recognizes the integral use of that building for the entire community. So I think that makes it a little bit different than just giving it as a grant to a supportive group. It's also helping to maintain that building that gets used for so many different things. I just want to be careful, and I mean, this is going to be the next council will have to deal with this as well, because I don't think this will necessarily go away, but I want to try to find a way where this is fair and sustainable and ongoing. And that we actually have a rationale behind it of why we do X or Y, and maybe we have to say no to somebody else because we just don't have the financial needs. I'm not sure if that would vary what she needs, but it would be some way that would ensure long-term kind of support for maintenance and janitorial needs. And we have contractors that do that. well, and add that on. So that's kind of what I was thinking, and I think it's a recognition of the building's use as well to the community.
Okay, I do have a comment, but I'm gonna go to Siobhan, then Bob.
Hi, Bill. Through the chair, yeah, I just wanted to talk about recreation because that was one of my questions for Bianca. So thank you for explaining that. Is we were putting $5,000 in, but taking the $5,000, giving it to the seniors. I think we do need to figure out the funding for the seniors and that we trust that they're going to do what they need to do with the money. It's not allocated, and we have to track and make sure that they're buying a new Wii station or running chair yoga. What they do there is huge, and we need to just let them do it. And if they need our support, I think that's fair. But with recreation, we did have a huge conversation about raising our recreation budget. And, we've got close to 200 units coming in, and we still don't have great rec programs. And when people look at buying in Sicamous or Salmon Arm, we need to make sure that we're supplying those dance classes or pottery classes and all that. And I know we do them, and I know sometimes they don't fill up and we have to cancel them, but it's a chicken and the egg, and we need to offer them and make sure we have that support. Or the summer camps, and I see we've got one right now coming up for spring break camp. People who are looking for homes in Sicamous, and families, we need more families in town, will look at what our rec program's in. And we did have that conversation. So I'm not sure why that, I think $5,000 more just for rec, and they can figure it out again. Staff can figure out where that goes. I think that needs to be done, and that was a conversation.
Thanks, Councillor Rich. I think that we did, I do recall this conversation, and I agree with you. I think that we're still running the recreation programs that we have right now, but I think staff is doing a survey to see what we can add to those as well. So I think that we're at a survey stage right now before we start adding to those, because I think there's been community involvement and all of that. Dane, you might want to touch on that.
So the staff did conduct the survey of the community. We got a number of inputs that we received. That's being compiled. Will be coming to council. And that was where we started. That's what we recommended to the council. We start is to go back and do a survey of the community, find out what programs the community wants to see, do a comprehensive review, have some drill down with various groups out of that, and then report back to council on what the results would be and whether there's a need for funding and where that funding should be targeted within the recreation portfolio. So that's underway. We expect to have that back to council next month. The survey is now closed, so we'll begin to put that compilation together and come to council's recommendations.
Thanks, Dane.
Can I just have a follow-up, Colleen?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, the survey is done. I think the big thing though is we need more funding there. Why would we council has voiced and said we need more funding for rec. We're leaving the number the same. And then to say, oh, okay, well, if we need more money later, we'll find it. What we need to do is to budget for it. And if we have a little excess, that's completely fine. But council has had this conversation and the numbers haven't changed again. And when you're trying to attract families to this town, recreation is huge. We need it.
Thank you, Councillor Rich. Bianca?
Yeah, and then just to Councillor Rich's point, so our touching base with other communities, so usually their rec programs run at, they try to cover the cost with their rec fees. So that's why we can't expand programs, just the cost has to cover the expense. If we would like to add $5,000 to the rec budget to run a few programs at a deficit, and if council was comfortable with, we'll add $5,000 to the recreation budget and Dean and Jamie can figure out where, we reduce a few fees for families, we can do that. We don't have the total results of the rec survey formulated, but if council would like to if you would like to do a motion and increase by $5,000, that we can do that. That's what we're here for.
Okay, thanks, Bianca. Counselor Evans and Counselor Bushel.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, I think that what Bianca's done by putting senior center into recreation is smart. And when I look at the rest of the budget and I see curling and I see the art center, the Red Barn and daycare and stuff, it just makes sense to me because they're such an integral part of our community to take care of the seniors in this way, the same way we are every other age group, including recreation, which draws families here. And I completely agree that we need to up the recreation. And I mean, I'm willing. I'd be willing to go from 3% to 3.1% if it meant that we have more funding for recreation in our community. And I'd be willing to make a motion to I am interested in seeing the results of the surveys, but I think that once we see the results, we're going to want a little more money in recreation without cutting the seniors. And I just think it makes sense to do both. So when I just look at the whole thing, that's how I feel.
Thanks, Counselor Evans. Should we just focus on the seniors, right? Because we're kind of bouncing all over right now. So let's get back to the seniors and how we want to deal with for that $5,000, okay? Because recreation's another conversation. So back to the $5,000 and setting it in a community, sorry?
No, I was just Counselor Rich has still got her hand.
Okay, I'll put her on the speaking list. And if it's built into the budget as community funds or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it is a amount that goes to the seniors every year without them coming in. Is that the direction that council is comfortable with? Councillor Bailey. Actually, sorry, Councillor Bushel.
I was,
Recreation, okay, so we're gonna put you net. Okay, then Councillor Bailey, then Councillor Rich.
Okay, so that technically can't happen. It has to come back as part of the budget process every year anyways. And so what I'm suggesting is that I take over just the operational janitorial maintenance, not the operations, but the maintenance of it. And that's just ongoing. It's just baked into our maintenance and janitorial service that we give. Me, that's not up for really debate going forward. The 5,000 would have to be voted on every year. It'd have to be a line item. There's no question about it, right? Unless we bury it somewhere in. But there's gonna be a new council here next time that knows what they'll wanna do, right? But it'll have to still remain a line item. I would say and maybe Mary can speak to this, like if it's janitorial and maintenance support that they desperately need in that building, my understanding that is really a huge need, then let's do that. Right? I think we have the means to do.
Bianca, and then Councillor Rich.
Yeah, and I would hesitate to cover janitorial because usually when it's us contracting out janitorial, like right now, for example, we have an RFP out. We follow a very like rigid process. And I would say from looking at like who comes to the RFPs and everything like that, as a municipality, I would say we do pay a bit of a premium because we do the whole, RFP process, whereas the seniors have more flexibility on who they work with to do those janitorial services, to do maintenance, to make sure they're covered under WCB and everything like that. So if we're comfortable that $5,000 is going to the correct place, staff recommendation would be not to go onto their facility and dictate that. We can still, if council wanted to enter into a yearly, like a year-on-year agreement, we can bake in things like, financial statement checks, like all those sorts of things and whatever council feels we need to do for that. But I would just not recommend us taking over we have enough facilities that we're covering off on. I wouldn't want to take that on.
Thanks, Bianca. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair. Yeah, I think with this one, we do need to get it in. Like Ian said, it will come up every year anyways. It should be a line item, and I think it should be its own line item. It shouldn't be in recreation. And I think they get their $5,000 and they figure out what they're going to do with it. I mean, they're dealing with the last storm and tree removal, which nobody has in anybody's budgets. And now they're trying to get some of those dangerous trees out. So I think if we take the money and force them to do something specific with it, that's not good for them and not good for us. So if they need janitorial, they need a tree replaced, they need to work on a broken window, whatever happens, we give them the money. If we need to do checks and balances to make sure it's being spent how we thought it was, but they've got a really great committee over there, and they serve a lot of people, and I don't feel like we should be pinholing them into a space where they have to do only one thing with the money.
Thank you, Councillor Rich. And Councillor Evans, go ahead.
I'm fine with that. I would move to make a line item, just call it senior center, and we trust them with that, and just make it $5,000 on an ongoing basis.
Councillor Evans, just one second here. We're going to need a motion. But Councillor Beach, did you want to speak to this? Did you want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
So I move that we put in a line item for just a general support for seniors.
Right, and it's not
Specific.
a letter request every year. It isn't automatic, but we still vote on it, but they don't need to come back and ask for it every year. Is that, Bianca,
Does that mean like do up a annual contribution agreement? And then it's stuck in there with some parameters around that, just to direct staff to work on that. Just for clarity, so right now in this draft budget, I don't need it to be added in as a line item because it is a line item. If council wants to do a contribution, like an ongoing contribution agreement, that'd be great. Direct staff to, do that up. I think with this general discussion, I will move it back into community supports. Just keep it out of recreation, and so if you wanted to do it for the ongoing, that would be great.
finish? Okay.
Yeah, so, an agreement, an understanding of that.
Back in the community lines with an ongoing agreement. Okay, can I get a seconder and then we'll get into conversation? Seconder, Councillor Bushel. Okay, we can have a.
Yeah, and then I think I agree with the contribution agreement side, but I think we should make it even simpler. I mean, this council can only. Well, maybe I can ask, are we allowed to enter into multi-year agreements? I'm fine. Okay, so then we should just do 4 years. Right, and then a 4-year agreement. Do it that way. So I'd like to make that amendment that we go into a 4-year agreement that'll come up. The next council will have more than enough time underneath their belt and they can renew it.
Yep. Thank you. Good amendment. Good point. Go ahead, Sean.
Can I just ask for clarification on that?
Yeah, that we enter into a 4-year contribution.
At $5,000? Thank you.
Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, that was what I was
Gonna say.
gonna say. Just for clarification, so the resolution isn't being changed. It's just an additional piece of direction through discussion of the resolution. So the resolution it's not required to give us a resolution for Bianca to do that work. It's just the direction that's been provided by council, doesn't change the resolution. So the resolution stands as it was first.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on this? I think this is a really, really good decision. Thanks, council. Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, what was our next?
If we go back to recreation, probably would be
Okay, let's go back to recreation. And Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair. When we go back to our December 11th meeting, when we asked for more funding back in December, if you really look at our latest final draft, basically all we've done is added $5,000 for for the seniors, so we still need $5,000 if we're gonna, or some amount in recreation to bring it up to, like we said, we need more programs, recreational programs, so that's basically what I wanted to say.
Okay.
All the numbers are the same, except for just put the $5,000 in.
I think that's what Bianca has, you could certainly do that. One of the survey questions was, what are your limit, like what's limiting you on participating in recreation services at that time? Is it financial, is it schedule, like what is the limitation to that? Do we offer more, is it the cost of them? So we'll have those survey results, but your council certainly can earmark additional funds for that portfolio. And then once we have the survey confirmation and bring it back to council, we'll have some better answers on where we're gonna recommend that money be allocated. Is the fees an issue, or is it more hours that are in the evening, more hours in the morning? We don't know at this point. That's what that results will bring back to you.
Councillor Bush will follow up and then Councillor Rich.
Yeah, I'll just add to that, like, staff's doing a great job, chipping away at it, and, here we're adding more stuff, but give it back to staff and, understand that we did make a resolution back in December to add more, and if we can, that would be great.
Councillor Rich.
Yes, through the chair. I mean, I'm just gonna voice again that I think 5,000 is the tip of the iceberg. And again, if that's helping with some funding, the survey will come back, and then we can see what people want. But I mean, even if that money's used for events, we talked about the car show and how we supported that. That costs money, right? Our Canada Day is fabulous. So if we can do more, even if it's just not specific like a dance class, and it's more bringing the vibe to Sycamoose and doing those kind of events, I'm sure that we can spend $5,000 in 12 seconds moving forward.
Thank you. So
Someone would just,
I'm getting the look from Bianca, you're asking for a motion,
I'm asking for a motion if
add $5,000 to the recreation budget. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, so once this report comes back, I guess what council's really getting at is, do we have the financial capacity to add more in without changing the budget? I guess I'm looking to staff to. It seemed, yeah.
So when the results are prepared, this would earmark 5,000 to recommend to council where 5,000 would be best allocated, whether it's a reduction in fees or whether it's a increase in programs, and which programs that would be. That was the intent, and that was the recommendation the council provided. That we provided to council in December, is let's find out what the community wants before we make decisions as to how to allocate money. So this would create a pocket of money that could be allocated once you've seen the survey results. Give some additional recommendations on where to put that 5,000 and how that could be allocated within the programs or the hours or the fees. Because it wasn't clear whether the fees were the limiting factor or was it the time of day. It's not, that was kind of one of the questions and why we recommended going and doing a more comprehensive survey.
Thanks, Dean. And Bianca, just to the point that we're at 3% right now, so which is amazing for communities right now. With the $5,000 really isn't like a big
to move it to about 3.1.
3.1. Councillor Beach.
Through the chair, I actually remember discussing the results of another survey where people were asking for more activities. And I don't remember when that survey was done. But I know that we had a survey result where people basically said, here's one.
Thanks, Councillor.
We've talked about that before as well, but Siobhan, I'm sure you remember that people have actually stated that.
Bianca, to Councillor Bushell's point that we already did a resolution for $5,000 to go to. Did we do that?
The resolution was for staff to investigate where.
Okay. So Councillor Bushel, do you want to make a resolution to increase the budget by? Or motion, sorry.
Yeah, we made the motion and it was to increase it from what we had on our December 11th finances meeting. We made a motion to find more money for recreation. That there wasn't a dollar amount. And that's what the motion was before. I mean, if we want to put a number on it, I mean, 5,000 helps and yeah.
You want to make a motion?
Sure.
Okay. Councillor Bushel's making a motion that we add $5,000 to the recreation. Councillor Rich is going to second that. Okay, any discussion? Any more discussion, Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I'm just looking through budget because I really don't want to add anything effect to that budget. So I just really have a question about, there was something under bylaw parking tickets that we had budgeted 20,000 for that, but we're down to 10. Is that just?
Rex Survey was done in 2020.
Yeah.
Presented in.
So the actuals, through the chair, for that one, the majority of parking tickets were being issued for that boat parking area next to the highway. That is no longer there. And yeah, like I would say over 50% of the tickets.
So if we're going to, and I think council's already approved it, going to a new ticket system or where. Yeah. We see that increasing or just no?
No.
Okay.
Right. Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Anything new? Okay, let's call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Moving on to Shuswap Watershed Council. Okay, so the Shuswap Watershed Council, and that's in this 3%, correct, Bianca? It's already in here. Pam, do you want to speak to that to start?
Yeah, through the chair, the Shuswap Watershed Council has, I think, been done at kind of there's not enough education on the importance of that. And I had brought up at one of the prior meetings that maybe there's a better way for us to reach out and educate the public. I know we're always hearing that it was voted down by the public, and I understand that. But I really feel that the general public does not understand the need for the kind of protection and advocacy that the Shuswap Watershed Council is providing us, and that was part of the reason why they were not voted for in the CSRD election or vote. So I advocate for it. I think we really need them. Without a healthy lake and somebody advocating specifically for that lake, and they've already done that on the agricultural lands. They've made a huge effort and really progressed farmland, protecting cows and the water and manure, and like all of those issues. They've done a lot of work. Now they need to focus on mussel protection and invasive species protection. And without the lake, we're done. We're toast here. And I really kind of don't feel very good hearing the kind of negative attitude about the work that they do, because we need a group that advocates specifically for safety and protection of that water. Or we don't have an economy without the lake, or the rivers for that matter.
Thank you.
So I think they deserve the $5,000. We've never put that much money into them in the past. I know it's more, but they've lost their funding because of the vote. And I think out of all of the places around here, we rely on them the most.
Thank you,
We rely
Councillor.
on that.
Thank you, Councillor Beach. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I obviously take the entirely different view. It's not the Shuswap Water Council or like the river. That's not the case at all. There's lots of regulatory bodies that look after that government, and it's on and on and on. They're an advocacy group, that's fine. And I don't have a problem with what they do. My problem with spending any money on them is the voters made the decision. They made the decision by an overwhelming majority. It wasn't close, it was out of the water. It was not like it was just a little bit of a victory. It was an overwhelming sense that the voters did not want to support with their taxpayers' dollars this group. They had a chance. That's my issue. It's not up to us to say the voters are wrong or the voters didn't understand. I think they did. They came out, they voted, they used their democratic franchise, and they gave us clear direction. So for us now to sit here as 7 members of council to vote to say, hey, I want to spend $5,000 of taxpayers' money to fund a group that actually we just had a referendum on, I just find absolutely personally unethical, because I don't think I should have the right to overrule what the voters already decided on. And that's it. I mean, I'm not saying the group doesn't do good work. I'm not saying that they're not valuable, but I think they have to find the money somewhere else out of the taxpayers. And that's why I just will not be supporting it. Because if we do support this, what is the point of people to go vote? Why are we even asking them if we're just gonna override it 2 years later? Like, it's just such a terrible precedent to set, and I'm just not gonna do it, so I will be supporting.
Thanks, Councillor Bailey. Councillor Evans and Councillor Rich.
I 100% agree with Councillor Beach that we need to do this because we need to protect our biggest resource. I would think that a lot of the people that voted that, I understand that the pinch in life is stopping them from doing that, but a lot of them probably aren't in our situation and need to protect this natural resource like we do.
Thanks, Councillor Evans. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair. Yeah, and the thing is I actually believe in the watershed, but my job as a councillor is to represent the people in the town. I'm their voice. That's what I was voted to do. And it was very loud and clear that the people of Sicamous did not want to support the Shuswap watershed anymore. And so it's not up to me to put my opinion into it. What is up to me is to follow the lead of the people that have voted. And I don't think it is right for us to try to overturn a vote. And it was very heavy. We do have other means of protection for the lake. This doesn't mean if the watershed doesn't get $5,000 from Sicamous that the lake's going to die. So let's not fearmonger. But I think we really need to follow what voters said. And they held a referendum and Sicamous, and it was broken out. If you look at the numbers through it, Sicamous straight up said, absolutely not. We are not wanting to support this. And it's our job as councillors to then not give our opinions or our feelings on how we feel about it. It's our job to follow what people said. And people of Sicamous said they don't want to support this with their tax dollars.
Thank you. Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair. I mean, I do, I remember the blooms that we had. More so Salmon Arm and Mirror Lake blooms, and they were worrisome for everybody. In the election they had it in the busy time of the year. Maybe it wasn't advertised properly. I kind of feel myself. There was 300 and something to not support it and 71 in favor of it. Some crazy number like that. So not a lot of people in the entire Shuswap even put it on it, but it's only, I think we're asking $2,000.
Five.
Is it 5? Okay. Yeah. It's, I made my living off the lake all my life here, and it's something I'm a little bit passionate about. So I do support it, and I support this council, whatever we vote on, and if it goes one way, it goes one way. If it doesn't go my way, it's my, that's the way it works.
Absolutely. I have And I was on this council when the $7 household, I think, parcel tax went into effect, and we didn't vote on it. It was it was voted on at the board and at the CSRD board, and we had that $7, and that's what was protecting our lake and going to the Shuswap Watershed Council. So when the referendum came up, I don't think people, and I agree with Pam, I don't think that people understood what they were voting for. People were phoning going, why are you increasing my water rate? Why am I getting a new water meter? There was so much confusion and not enough education around the process that it failed. It failed due to lack of education. Sicamous has, and everyone in this town knows that Sicamous for the last 12 years has been advocating against invasive species and working hard. We have been giving the Shuswap Watershed Council money every year, even aside from our parcel tax. We have been supporting this. We've been advocating. We've got resolution to the federal government right now that the federal government needs to come to the table more. We do need to protect our water, and the more voices we have on the ground, talking about invasive species, talking about contaminated boats coming into our province is a win for Sicamous. I can't imagine our community with invasive species and the cost to our businesses. And I'm sorry, to manage invasive species, mussels, is going to cost every business in town that has a marina or has, and it's about tourism coming into our community. But I definitely support this. And I've been advocating for 12 years, so I just want us to make sure that we have enough boots on the ground protecting our water. Council Beach, Bailey, and Council Rich.
Hey, Chair, I just don't think people understand. The public doesn't understand, not even the people who live on the lake. And I know people who just weren't aware of the threat of the mussel and how it was transported. They don't know. The education has not reached enough people in the right way, which is why I suggest maybe it should go out with the property tax levy, so that owners along everywhere understand this is significant and it will affect their property value if the lake gets infected. So I think it is an education issue, and we need to have bodies and keep putting more money into educating the public so that they understand what this means.
Thanks,
That's all I'm saying.
Councillor Bailey and then Councillor Rich.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that are being attributed to the Shuswap Water Council here is truly ridiculous. I mean, that if we don't fund them, we get mussels, or we don't fund them, the lake dies. I mean, this is absolutely it's not even true. It's not even remotely close to being true. This isn't the all overlord that kind of keeps all our lakes and streams safe. It isn't. It's an advocacy. That's what it was, and that's what it is. It's right in their mission statement. So let's not, amplify what this group does. Let's be honest about it. I think the other thing that everyone should be aware of is that the final vote tally was 982 against and 364 in favor. It wasn't close. It wasn't, like I said, even in the ballpark of people who were debating it. It was an outright no. Like one of the clearest no's I've ever kind of seen. I mean, if you lose by that kind of margin, I think that's a fairly clear indication. And that's it. That's the reason why I'm voting against it. But I think to equate that we don't support it and we get mussels is absolutely incorrect. That's why I was almost rolling my eyes and trying not to when I heard that. Because it's not true. It's just patently false. And I think that's where this debate is getting muddy. And it's not about that. It isn't about me wanting mussels, and you want to frame it that way, great. But it is about respect for the taxpayers, respect for the voters, and they said no. So I don't know, I mean, I don't even think this should be before council. I think I'm actually so upset about this, that I think council's about to actually give 5,000 to it. Because what all the state voters is that don't bother voting, because it doesn't apparently matter, we'll just go back and use your taxpayers' money for anything else that we kind of feel like. I'm not doing it, but that isn't a vote for me supporting muscles in the lane. So I'm a little upset with that kind of attempt to demonize my position and other people that aren't supporting this, because that's absolutely not the case. I've sat at this council every single year supporting motions that we brought to SILGA, to UBCM, to FCM about muscles in the lane. That it has nothing to do with this. And the attempt to kind of brandish me with that, I find offensive. That's not what this is about. Let's be clear. This is about council about to give $5,000 to a group that the taxpayers and voters said, no, I do not want my money to go there. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bailey. Just to, I didn't mean to say that we were going to get muscles. I said more boots on the ground advocating and educating is better. I am not demonizing. Your opinion is, you know what, as important as everyone else's in here. So, and all I said was we have supported them before. So, and the more education and the more boots on the ground. That's where I went with that. So if you felt that I was picking it, I was not. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair. And again, I think taxpayers should be insulted with this conversation. Taxpayers have voted. They said, we don't want to support this. And us saying, oh, you're too dumb to understand what was going on. I feel when people go in to vote, they have a right to vote. The education they get, that would be up to the Shuswap Water Council, to us, to whoever was advocating to get the information on the table. Taxpayers have voted. So I would also wonder, is there a way, which we are concerned about the lake and we're passionate about the lake, and I think everybody is in this room and we understand how important it is there a way we could take that $5,000, put it back into Sicamous and work on our own muscle programs? Us undermining voters who have loudly said they don't want to spend money on this is completely wrong. Absolutely, completely. If we're passionate about it, let's take our $5,000 and do something in-house, or maybe we do more signage. Maybe, we help with a pop-up tent. I don't know what that looks like, but giving money to something that voters have said we don't want to do, and then we turn around and say, you didn't really understand the question. You're kind of dumb. So now I'm going to just do what we want to anyways, is completely unacceptable. It's a democracy.
Councillor Bushel.
Yes, I agree with Siobhan. It's a great idea. I'm just gonna ask, Bianca, do you recall Salmon Arm, they didn't donate any money this year? To the Shuswap Watershed Council?
Correct. It was brought to their budget meeting and it was,
And
voted
then
down.
the CSRD and NORD, last year they donated 15,000.
Correct. CSRD, their electoral areas are donating 15,000
Again this year.
in their grant and aid. Yes, correct.
Okay. And then how many people are in the CSRD?
Oh, gosh.
Like,
Do you recall? I can't-
Oh, gosh.
This would just the areas on the Shuswap were the areas that contributed. So you'd have the North Shuswap, Area E, those
F.
areas.
60,000 or like 100,000?
I would be making it up. I can't. Sorry.
Thank you.
So thank you, Gord. Thanks, Bianca. To Siobhan's point, I think that we did reach out, and CSIS has their branding that they use, and they do show up at our docks here as well. So they are scheduled at marinas throughout the summer. So, and they do have their own branding. And I think we did try to reach out to invasive species, and because we wanted to do a fun billboard that says with the zebra mussel, and they said no, because we were making light of a situation. So I don't know if staff has that kind of time to put a campaign. I mean, we do tons of communication already. We do as far as social media. We've got several businesses in town that have banners on their websites that say, "Don't move a muscle." And you click on that and you get into it's, I think the money more effectively would be with an organization than us trying to do it on a smaller Sycamoose base. Before I go to you, Councillor Bailey, Shauna, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. I think that our communications person has already been working on quite a substantial. This started late 2025 with regards to some media and like a digital campaign, and we could probably do a little bit of investment in print media and do that from a staff level. And that has already been underway for education on the invasive species. And yeah, I just wanted to add that. So that's already underway and would be easy to complete.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Councillor Bailey, then Councillor Beach.
I think Councillor Rich hit the nail on the head, and I'd like to make a motion that we set up a $5,000 fund. Well, first of all, not fund the Sioux Chalk Water Council, but instead take the $5,000 fund for a made in Sycamoose lake awareness campaign. And that can be as broad as we want, and we can advocate. We're all against the mussels work. We all know how important this lake is. And I think we can do it here. I think we have done it here. And we want to go partner with another group to make that happen. I'm fine with that too. We could talk about what that looks like. And maybe we can go back to a couple other groups that we've had conversations with, but do it that way. Use the money to advocate for our lake. We know how important that is here, but do it in a way that respects the wishes of the taxpayers and the voters. So I'd like to make that motion, is that we use $5,000, $5,000 from this to a $5,000 budget line for solution.
Can I get a seconder? Okay. Any more? Go ahead, Councillor Rich.
Sorry, I was being the seconder, but yeah, I like this idea, and then we can actually target people we think that are using the lake and maybe need to know a bit more about mussels. If we think people are uneducated that voted, let's educate them with our $5,000.
Can I ask staff who would execute this? Like, what sort of dollars are we looking at for staff? We're already, we've got communications already and brochures already, and we've got tents set up already that are being set up that we're not paying for. So I guess, what does this look like for staff to do a Made in Sycamoose campaign? And I just want to clarify one point. I personally do not think our taxpayers are stupid. I just want to clarify that. I just think that how they went about educating and sharing this message was incorrect. So just so that I have that very clear. Okay, go ahead, Bianca.
Yeah, so how I would envision it would be mostly our communications team and probably Dean working with council a bit too on what the best way is. Because if that is print material, yes, we have our basic budget for, our tax inserts, which honestly we print in black and white now to bring down our printing costs and stuff like that. So if we wanted to do, a full color spread, that there's going to be a cost to that. So that sort of thing, if we want to, produce materials to give to marinas or anything like that, there would be a cost to that. I'm sure, like, if the Watershed Council, I mean, I can't speak for them, but staff could work with the Watershed Council if that is also, a bit of a campaign to educate people if we think that that's an issue on, those supports. But we definitely could use the money internally. And with that, I'd probably pass it to Dean.
Yeah, we are trying to move away from print material is a very high cost. So we're trying to move away more to having it online. There's so much information that can be provided. The piece that we're sending out with the taxes is really no additional cost to the district, and that it's just simply adding URL code and a website page. We have Captain compiling a bunch of information for our communications team, and that can be all available online. So instead of sending every taxpayer in the community 17 extra pieces of paper in their tax bill that they may or may not just put in the recycling, they can go to the website, they can get all the information, it's nicely laid out, gives us some background. There's more information available and we'll get to more people. And to be honest, nowadays, that's more connected way for people to get information. Getting them that information as a brochure is kind of where we're trying to move away from a little bit. And that's pretty standard, not just for Sycamoose, but in most local governments, just because it's not right. All of the sheets that come out, get beyond a page or two, it's not necessarily going to have the uptake that you hope for.
Councillor Beach?
Yeah, I just wanted to recognize that there is a new technical way of testing or checking votes that's coming out as well, that they can just swipe votes to. And that, maybe that's something that down the line, once that's developed, hopefully that'll be pretty soon, that we could have maybe summer students and, working with us to sort of check votes. I also, wonder about approaching the feds in terms of permitting votes for life. Once they're registered.
Okay.
That complicates it for us, right? In terms of getting eyes on votes that come into our community. So is that something that we should look at?
Yeah, that's a bigger picture. Let's drill back down to where we are here. Thank you. Councillor Rich and then Councillor Evans.
Yeah, through the chair. I mean, I think if we had $5,000 for this, it would be supporting Explore Sycamoose. It would be supporting our hotels like Chamber of Commerce. The mussels are going to come in from out of province. So worrying about our households is not the issue. It's getting the message out to people before they come into town with their paddle boards. People don't know that if I come from Winnipeg with my paddleboard, that it could have mussels on it. So for me personally, if we do an internal support, which I would love to see, that's $5,000 go to, it is not so much Sycamoose spending that money or using staff time, but supporting the Chamber and Explore Sycamoose. So with our hotels, our Airbnbs, our advertising, that we're saying, hey, when you come into town, please know mussels are an issue, and maybe you didn't know they could be stuck to your paddleboard or your propeller. Our houseboat companies, these people are bringing out of province people into town, which we absolutely want them and we love them. But that's who we need to hit. We don't need to hit Sycamoose people.
Thank you. Councillor Evans.
Yeah, I think this is a good compromise. And, I agree with Dean that we got to do better online stuff, but also, this $5,000, if we needed to, could also help us produce a couple of signs for folks that are from out of town to see something down there that they can't miss as well. But I think this is a good compromise instead of giving it to the Watershed Council to augment our communications budget to enable us to fight this ourselves.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I think we can workshop this a little bit, but I can see how we could actually have, nice display pamphlets or something that we could put in every business. I'd certainly put them in mind, talking about the dangers of moving mussels, which is, I think, the number one critical threat to our lake at this point. I think we all agree on that. But also just even like using digital ads to amplify that message through Facebook or Instagram, do a few Instagram or reels. You'd be surprised at how some of these, easy things to do can have a huge impact. We also have an excellent communication person as a consultant who's fantastic at this stuff. And so, this little money could have an outsized impact on moving the dial on what we all consider to be grave threat to our lake, and that's the muscle issue. I like this compromise, I feel comfortable with it, and really glad that Councillor Rich is, even though I'm the mover of the motion, not my idea, Councillor Rich's, and I think this is a way forward, so.
Thank you. I'm quite familiar with a lot of the pamphlets and brochures and messages that we send out because I get them continually and I share them. And I've got houseboat companies, we've got houseboat companies that share this message. We've got houseboat companies that don't move a muscle. We have got pamphlets that invasive species drop off at every location. Marinas are invasive species wise. The invasive species folks come out to every launch and set up tents. The message is clearly out there on social media. I don't think that our issue is educating Sicamous. I think our education needs to be broader and we need to support a broader scope. We are doing a brilliant job here in town. Chamber has a campaign going and reaches out. If you look into our visitor guide right now, there's 2 full pages on invasive species. And as I said, you know what? I can go to a marina and the invasive species folks have been out there and they've got pamphlets on every boat out there. So I think that locally we are doing a good job. I think to Pam's earlier point, this is about watershed and managing and making sure and looking out for those blooms. And back to, and I understand council's concern about the vote and Sicamous not wanting to be part of it. But I do believe that education was a big part of that. So I believe that we need more boots on the ground talking about this and sharing the message. So for that reason, I'd like to, my personal vote is be against this and leave it with the Shuswap Watershed Council, because I think we are working really hard in Sicamous through lots of media and businesses to share the message. Anyone else? Oh, okay, Councillor Rich, Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, through the chair, no one's saying that Sicamous isn't working hard. I think giving more money to our Sicamous programs will benefit us more, and that $5,000 that taxpayers said they do not want to spend on Shuswap watershed, straight out said, then we can use that to advocate for ourselves, and I think that's a really good compromise.
Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I feel like this is a compromise that we can get around, rather than a divisive vote on the Seashore Water Council. I don't want that. I mean, like I said, everybody wants to support, like, everyone knows this town, how important it is. It's like, just part of our life, right? And we're all committed to doing something to make sure we protect it. And I really like this compromise because I think it's something that we can go forward on that does the education that everyone is talking about, but also respects what taxpayers and voters have already told us. Yeah, I think that's the only issue here, is not about people not loving and wanting to support the future of Sicamous through our recreation and our vital natural resources. So yeah, I'm the mover. I'm supporting it. I hope everyone else can support this, because I think it is a reasonable way forward and still get the education piece that we want. That's it.
I'd like to make an amendment, a friendly amendment, if council is interested, and that is that we, because we have supported the Watershed Council over the years, this isn't our first time supporting them. How does council feel about splitting this to keep the boots on the ground, $2,500 to the Watershed Council and $2,500 to beef up our already running communications programs?
As the mover of the motion, I can support that, just because it's still going back to the original issue is that the voters say no, so where I feel like we're at is that you have something on the table that I think will do good for the town and do good for the education piece around the lake muscles, how critical it is. So I would support that because I just said I have a fundamental problem with sending taxpayer money to an organization that the voters have said they didn't want to support.
Okay, so, does anyone else have any comments on that?
Council Bush.
Counselor Bushel
Yeah, just for curiosity.
and Counselor McCabe, sorry.
How many times do you see them at boat launch? Like, I know they're there lots because I've used boat launch lots. So they do come out, and set up their booth and they do that. Like, do they?
Every long weekend.
It's a long weekend, every long weekend. And they do it at Old Town.
And they do it at the Main Street Landing, I think. I think the chamber had some people out there at the Main Street Landing with them as well, so. Mhm.
And is there any way we know what that cost them, that we could, if we wanted to kick in, like you say, funding for labor? Because we won't be setting up tents and booths. It'll just be social media.
I don't know. Counselor McCabe? Malcolm?
It's frozen.
He's frozen.
You fell asleep.
He did have his hand. He's froze.
So should I call? I'll wait till Malcolm, but this one first and then the amendment, or the amendment first and then this one?
The amendment wasn't the original, so we'll just have to call on the original.
Oh, there he is.
Motion from the beginning of the
Okay,
plate.
there.
So there's no
Sorry,
motion.
Malcolm, we lost you there. We didn't hear anything. You want to go ahead?
Nothing? I was
Nothing.
so
Do you wanna-
eloquently spoken there now.
You've been talking to no one, literally.
I just said I respectfully don't support your motion to amend the motion, and I think we should just vote on the original motion. Because your amendment puts in different aspects into play. So I would like to just, I wouldn't support your amendment, and I'd like to just vote on the original motion.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
for clarification for council, so the friendly amendment was proposed, the original motion wasn't, the motion maker was not accepting of the friendly amendment, so the resolution before council stands as originally brought forward.
$5,000.
$5,000.
$5,000 to community initiative.
Okay, so I think we've talked this one around the room. So let's call the question. Sorry, Bianca?
Siobhan is just
Just put her hand up.
Siobhan, do you have something new you want to add?
We just reread the emotion, or the motion then, because we've amended and friendly unamended it. So what is the motion we're looking at?
Still the original.
It's the original motion that council authorized $5,000 to,
remove $5,000 from the Shuswap Watershed Council and to add $5,000 for internal initiatives.
okay, so that's the motion on the floor right now to remove it and add it for council initiatives. Okay, anything new to add to that? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And opposed? Okay, carry on. What do we have?
Sorry, I didn't see the vote. What was the outcome?
Sorry, the vote is to remove the money from the Watershed Council and put the money into a Sycamoose initiative.
It's like what the total.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
vote was carried with one opposed.
Oh, the vote was carried with just me opposing.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. What else do we have there, Bianca?
I guess the next one from just changes would be EBT. Be the next one probably best to discuss, which would be the referring it to the EOF.
So do we need a motion to do that?
I do not need a motion. That was just one of the changes. So if,
So open to council for comments. EVT moving to EOF this year with working with Area E and putting a plan together to make that move forward. We think that EVT is really important to our community, and getting our seniors to doctor's appointments is key. So it's going to take, the society has done a great job to this point, but it's going to take some jigging and some reworking to make it work better. And we also want to look at something that adds to it as well, perhaps a bit of a transportation piece between Malaqua and Salmon Arm. But that's another day. Right now, we just would like to discuss the EBT coming out of EOF, which is what the ask is right now, to take it out of the taxpayers line. Go ahead, Bianca.
and to just build off of that. So of course, to use EOF funds, we would need the approval of the area E director as well. And she has been supportive of this. However, also has some of the same concerns, building a bigger board for Eagle Valley, and also to explore additional services that could be explored, such as, not just medical appointments, and just some ways of supporting those that do not have a means of transportation a little bit more.
Councillor Beach.
Yeah, through the chair. Would it be inappropriate to also ask that this money would be considered for training for the drivers who are now volunteer?
How the program works is two separate. Yeah, we'll just look at funding it and then but we all understand that there needs to be a new process, a new program put into place. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, I'm in favor of this idea, and I think that good things evolve over time, and it's got such a profound impact on people in our community to have this service that I think that this is a great way to fund it.
Thank you. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, I just need clarification. So with the EOF, would it just be the 10 grand this year? Are we looking, because the original ask was for 3 years at 10, would have been 30,000. What are we looking at here?
Bianca, can you clarify?
Yeah, so for this year, it'd be 10,000. The area E director, and I believe us as well, would like to see certain things put in place in order to ever enter into a multi-year agreement through EOF. So that would have to be put in place and brought back to council for ongoing. But this year would just be, if council was in support of it, we would start the discussion and get the application through EOF going on that.
Can I have
Sorry.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Sure.
Bianca, also, like with that, will there be checks and balances on how it's all going? Would that be something we regulate, or that would be Area E, or how does that work?
The society.
Yeah, through the chair. So it would have to follow through the EOF, like that is a process within the CSRD. So they do their regular requirements for financial statements and all of those checks and balances. And at the end of the day, if council felt like there was, things going on that they weren't in agreement with, that would be up to council to bring that forward and look into the options. With the ongoing EOF funding, there would be stipulations in there, like they can't be building up reserves or anything like that with that funding. It would be very specific.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bailey.
we're certainly using EOF funds for a lot of different things this year. So in a way that kind of makes me happy because I think one of my suggestions was to use EOF for critical infrastructure. I feel like all the other stuff we were using is giving me that can happen because I don't know if this is economic opportunity in terms of using that fund for maybe what it was designed for. I get why we're trying to use this is to lower the tax impact for people, so I'll be supportive in the sense that, and why I am is because what just Bianca just said, is that this is a road to kind of reform and looking at a larger piece and role for this transportation society. I think just as is, I think it's no secret that it's struggling. Lots of places are struggling these days because of lack of volunteers, funding. But if this is going to go into a larger kind of rework and a reimagine, then I can see how this would be useful, right? So it's not just moving it forward on a status quo basis. It's actually helping it, reimagine it and broaden itself out. So I'm correct that it's gonna get a good hard look. And this will just keep it going, but it's gonna be reformed. So I guess it's a bit of a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I've shared this. So I worked with the CSRD on getting an idea of where EOF has gone the last few years. So EOF, back in 2014, we were getting about 136,000 into EOF. It is now about 310,000 annually. So the pot of money has changed drastically. And so how the district has kind of been historically using it is kind of one-off projects. However, there is Area E has used it more for a little bit more of, take it off the taxpayer kind of thing. So theirs has been supporting their learning center. EVT being that it does a lot of work in Area E and Sycamoose, I would say it's more of our, a collective effort on that one. More district driven. One of the things looking at this, I really saw was our health center is bang on, giving back to the right range, similar to, Malakwa's Community Learning Center. So I propose to use that from EOF. So just to get understanding of EOF where it could go. Yeah, and I mean, the big thing is the amount that we get in that annually. Like even if you allocate it out, Community Learning Center, our health center, and EVT, you still have almost half of that 310 to go into larger projects. You do a large project every 3-4 years. With that amount, you can do quite a bit. Yeah, anyways, just that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess, that'll be something for the new council to consider, right? This is the one-time funding to get to a better plan, right? So if we come back next year to the new council to decide whether they wanted to go into multi-year kind of funding agreement. So yeah, that to me is a sensible plan in front of us.
Thanks. And also involving Area E and Malakwa so that we are working together to find a better plan to make this sustainable. Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair. I support the Eagle Valley Transportation. But I just want to clarify something. Pam brought up training for volunteers. Can you clarify all drivers are paid or volunteers?
All drivers are volunteers.
So where does their $14,000 payroll come from?
That's administration. So that is also a topic for discussion on ongoing EOFs. If a paid employee, that would be up to expanding the board and determining if that could be more allocated to, board time or how that would work. Yeah.
That's part of the
Ongoing
and recognizing that it's kind of a hybrid system. So
Yeah, no,
So
I support what you.
do we have a motion on the floor?
Not yet.
No, if I could get a motion just to, for, like, the committee isn't where we would get the final motion anyways, but if the committee could support a $10,000 application through EOF for EBT for 2026, that would be.
I'll make that motion that we support it. Could I get a seconder? Counselor Bailey. Okay. Is there anything new to add to this? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? Great, that's supported. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Okay,
Just letting Malcolm back in.
okay.
I had parked him. Okay.
How'd that go?
It went well.
For you.
But we're gonna have some words with you, young man, when you get back.
Okay, so with that, from my notes, I can go next to, general transfers to reserve, or if there's any operating items that council would like to talk about before doing so.
Was it a couple? Sorry. Really substantial increase, I think, in our IT. Budget. I assume that's because we're gonna have a new council or the, sorry,
Oh,
okay. I just had a question about, I guess. General, like, kind of other revenue sources that we have, we have parking tickets and these things like that, and that's gone down. Are we kind of seeing some of our ancillary kind of fees that we collect declining year over year, or is it been kind of just stable? Okay.
they kind of go like this, depending on quantity.
Okay.
Any other comments, Counselor Bushel?
Yeah, I had a whole bunch, but I can talk to Bianca later. But I just wanted to ask you, non-market change since our last draft. It's changed. 35. How does that work? Like, how does that change between now and then?
The final. So
Change again?
what happens is we get preliminary in November, which is pretty much like BC assessment has gotten as many of the new builds, but then they do our final review, which will give us our completed roll. Completed roll is the assessment that everyone receives in their mailboxes that they can, dispute, but before the end of December, and then we get the revised roll. So I will not get the revised roll until about the end of April. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of other questions and I made lots of notes, but just when you get into contract services, I know I had a few, I was concerned about the IT going up, that 13,000. But I mean, we have and just one of the changes, building inspections gone from 41 to 78. That's because we're contractor only now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Fire hydrant maintenance, is that we had a fairly substantial increase in fire hydrant maintenance?
Yeah, I would say fire hydrant maintenance hasn't been the highest on the list in the coming years. They've been doing a lot more replacements of fire hydrant parts, which have gone up quite significantly in cost.
Yeah, it was a first substantial increase, and I was just curious about that. Other one I was worried about was docks, beaches, docks and ramps, contract services. Was 3, but it's going to 10. Is there a reason?
Yeah, so ongoing maintenance and the regulations we have to follow. So a lot of the times if we even want to touch our docks, first we have to use a contractor to do all the permitting and that process in there. So that this year, that line item was actually well over budget in actuals. And we're trying to kind of smooth that out. So I think we ended up spending up more like 30 this year on our docks because of all the permitting requirements now required.
Another one we had on here, but there's no item for it, which is, we're not using, is the houseboat kiosk. Is there any plans, like, we should probably look at that, it's starting to really look deplorable. You really look at it, it's really dirty, really deplorable, should we be doing something in Public Works to kind of either spruce it up, at least make it look good? You know, and I brought it up to Dean that the air conditioner runs in the summer and the heaters run in the winter, and that's understandable for the winter because they got water in there. But I just think we should, you know, do something with it. It looks pretty, and look, you know, people still use it and like use that parking lot. And just starting to look pretty tight. And it could probably be, you know, blended in. You don't have to put a line item for it. I think it could be blended in, but we should try to tidy it up.
There's already plans to do that work in the spring. It's not there's not a budget requirement. The heat pump that runs in there is just to keep it minimal. We have irrigation valves and so forth that are in there that need to have a minimum of being above 0 to not freeze. So we maintain a temperature in there that's just above freezing in order to be able to protect those valves and so forth within the houseboat structure. They do their regular maintenance. Daryl's gonna have his crew out there this spring to do their regular maintenance on the exterior of the building. As far as the future for it, that would be brought forward to council in the future. It's not part of the current budget to look at revamping that area. A lot of that will come on how the bridge project finishes off and what that area in the surrounding component of it will look like. We'll see what that sort of final plan looks like and how that's going to fit into it. So that would be a future case.
Okay.
Anything else?
A couple quick ones.
Sure.
When we do have like revenue generating buildings or assets like the modular unit that we now lease out, do we put any of that into reserves? Is there any money that goes into the reserve to those buildings? Or like the modular or the Eagles Nest?
Well,
Should
I mean, right now, like, yes, and the fact that we're increasing general trans, like, really at the end of the day, it all balances out. So because we're increasing capital transfers to reserve, yes, in a way we are, yeah. We don't have yet established, like, I'll show you later, like all the buckets. We've never actually established one for just municipal buildings, which would be something that I would recommend going forward. But we can talk about that when it comes to reserves. Yeah.
Hey, Gordon, are you good? Okay. Councilor Rich.
Through the chair, one of the lines I was interested in is we have waterway advocacy, which I believe is sneeze for 10 grand. Is that what that is?
Through chair, it's not, that one's not directed towards sneeze.
Sorry.
Could be if there was a council resolution to use some of those monies. But that's for the exploration of head lease and contract works for that.
Okay, because last year we gave 10 grand to sneeze, correct?
2 years ago, we gave money to sneeze.
Okay, yeah, and I know that Todd was in last month or the month before, and he was saying they were going to be looking at 75,000 moving forward. Are we? I know they haven't come for an ask, but I also feel like they're going to need support. And we talk about the lake and how important it is, and with all these different things. Do we have a line item to just so we don't have to go into a different pot to get some money? Do we have a line item there for supporting sneeze?
So we don't have a line item this year, but the $75,000 that I think Todd is speaking to, he is looking for grant funding to do some hydro a study. So that is a study, but he's looking for funding for that when he was here. That's what his request was, just support on funding. Can I go to Dean, then you, or sorry, Siobhan, sorry, go ahead. You want to finish?
So Sneeze is not going to be looking for money from Sycamoose, is what you're saying?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay, because yeah, we're,
They're not on this budget. They haven't asked, so I don't know.
okay, yeah, I just think before the budget is done in May, that's something we need to reach out because it is a big spend, but it's also very important to advocate for the lakes, and what they're doing is something I don't, it would just cost our town a lot of money to be able to do the work they're doing with volunteers. So just thinking ahead that there maybe there needs to be a conversation with them to say, are you going to be looking for money from us? And then we can make sure it's in our budget instead of having to pull from something else.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of like, 180, let's go looking for people to ask. Go ahead, Dean.
To date, the ask has been to provide support on grant applications. So as they identify grant applications, they may come and seek resolutions from council in support of their application for the grant. Me as the CAO, I've offered to support them as far as helping them with grant requirements and so forth, as far as the administrative side of it, helping to read those grant applications and prepare those grant applications. That's an in-kind service. We're not providing, there's no cost associated with that piece. At this point, the letters of support for applications is where we likely will see some requests coming, but those requests haven't come yet.
So, and sorry, Siobhan, to your point, Bianca, do we have money in for a contractor like we do have for Keith Weird? Is there a line for the district for? Yeah, so, yeah, okay, Councillor Bailey.
So there is a line item in DevCorp's budget.
Yeah.
So it has been funded. There's been money through DevCorp that's gone to CSIP. And then this 10,000 is for us moving forward on our activities that we're all too. So
Okay.
I mean, budget's tight already. I'm happy at 3.1. I mean, there's no end to we can spend money.
Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, yeah, I don't want to spend more money, don't get me wrong. I just don't want surprises either. So if it is coming, then I would rather know that it's that we know where it's coming from and where it's going to go. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to spend any more money. If SNEES can sort it out themselves and we can write some letters, and I guess that's what we're agreeing on today, that we won't be putting money into SNEES this year. That's coming out of ECTEV. I think that's absolutely fabulous.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair, another quick one for Bianca. The health center. Revenue is great, like 18,900 this past year. Budgeting 22.4, which maybe we hopefully will surpass that fairly quickly. But I'm just looking at and I know we're out for contractors or janitorial service. Last year was 16,000. This coming year, we're budgeting 24.
Do we ever nail down, are we going to, because I'm sure that contract is
Our medical office versus our community space. We want to keep that separate to be able to,
Measure.
measure, our medical center should probably stay the same all the time usually, but, the community space will probably needs a fairly good clean all the time. So I'm just wondering if it'd be wise to keep that separate. And I was just curious about that.
Bianca.
They are separate.
They are
So
separate?
there's a janitorial line within medical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got a whole bunch of stuff, but I'll talk to Bianca later.
Okay. Yeah. So as far as the health center, sustainability, that's gonna probably be closer with having that space filled. So we're working towards that extra 2,500 square feet getting filled, and that'll be the healthcare center mostly sustaining itself and coming off.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And yeah, so we had talked about EOF previously. So moving the deficit for that health center towards EOF. I think this year would probably be one of the larger deficits because we don't have that third party space filled. Locking in $85,000 going forward for the medical center and the health center. And then if there is any sort of monies left over because, you know, we fill that extra space, making sure that excess goes to a reserve directly for that building and really supporting it because, I mean, that's not a cheap building and eventually it will need some upkeep. Yeah.
Having money in reserves is a wise idea. And Area E, when we sat down to talk to her about this money coming out of EOF, she was quite positive. You know what? Malaqua does use our healthcare center, so it is right through the region. So we have gone this on our own to $85,000 remaining. So it was nice that Area E was amendable to putting this 85 on and taking it off our tax. So I think that was, well, thank you to Director Martin for recognizing that contribution right through the area is important. Go ahead.
Okay, if there's nothing else for general, except for Gord coming to visit me in my office later.
You need a motion from council for that 85? That's gonna go, because it has to go to the CSRD, correct?
I'll bring it back to a regular council meeting for a resolution. Since it's really us, I don't need council support for that one, unless you guys all started talking about how you don't want to do that, which I didn't hear. Okay, and so I'm just gonna go share this. So just looking at our general reserves and our different pockets. Share the screen. So right now, when it comes to the general reserves that the district holds, we have grant monies held in reserves. So we get community works funding of about $182,000 a year. That has to be used for capital. There's a whole long list that we can use it for. I have earmarked to use it towards our sewage treatment plant for the next foreseeable future. But in doing so, there is some other items that have been getting these have been getting used for, especially when it comes to road projects. So that's Community Works Fund. Climate action has to be used for green initiatives. So we've used this for adding EVs to our fleet and any other projects that council sees fit for that. Again, very much a conditional grant. You have to use it for certain things. We have our general office and equipment. This is the one that's being does our annual computer upgrades. This is the one that has been getting used for a while for general buildings. So it has 484 in it right now. And it's been budgeted the last 5 years, this for our office equipment for the health center. We have fire equipment budget. This is where we get our fire trucks and all the other equipment, so lockers, those sorts of things for our fire department. PW equipment kind of speaks for itself, all the different equipment used by Public Works. We have boat launches and recreation, pretty self-explanatory there. Roads, storm and sidewalks. Our healing center, which will be coming down to a 0 after this year. Housing initiatives, bridge reserve. This one was fully depleted when we did the Salsqua Bridge. So putting a little bit in there going forward. Our fire hall for eventual replacement or major maintenance. We did have a campground reserve. So we can chat about that one a bit of where that could be reallocated. I would want to reallocate that. It's about $230,000 right now to general buildings. knowing that, well, this building in particular is starting to get older. We just had to redo the roof here. And then we have a couple other buildings, our curling rink, public works building, that all will need major maintenance over the years. Land purchases, railway crossing and maintenance, that one we started putting in last year after we got our big shock of a bill from CP Rail. Bioheat, which this reserve, we put directly in the net income from our bioheat facility into the reserve, knowing that it'll be going towards that facility. Daycare, which is new, so that's the net that we get from our daycare lease, putting that to reserve. We have our park dedication reserve. So when we look, if we ever get a subdivision where they have the option, Dean knows the process for that, I don't, the option to give money in lieu of parkland, that money goes into this reserve. If we were to sell parkland, that money would have to go into this reserve and it'd be dedicated to purchasing parkland. And then we have a small parking reserve. This reserve, when a development goes in and they do not want to give they have an option. If they don't have the appropriate amount of parking spaces, they can give cash in lieu towards parking somewhere else when council chooses it, but it has to go to reserve, very small amount. And then finally, we have an operational reserve, which if there's a one-off project from 1 year, it gets put in here and taken out the next year, or if there's just, this can deal with one-off expenditures in 1 year if need be. So with that, if anyone.
Any questions, council? Because I think after this, we are going to take a lunch break. So questions, Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair, on any of those reserves, is there anything we can transfer to the sewage? Like, you want like campground? Or, that's it. I'm just thinking out loud,
Go ahead, Bianca.
Through the chair, I mean, you can do a lot of different things. I mean, transferring it, I think, like, for example, back in 2019, we did a transfer from sewer to water. You can. You might be just creating a future problem. Right now, I think with looking at general, I would say our big spends in general is our roads and our buildings. I would say our roads in particularly. If we want to continue to do the water upgrades that we've been doing, because we do have a lot of older pipes, whenever you tear up to replace a pipe, you have to usually redo a road. When we look at Riverside, for example, the cost of the road costs more than doing the pipe. So, and that's how the funds work. So can we do it? Yes. Should we do it? I personally wouldn't recommend it. The utility is supposed to, in essence, fund itself. Could we borrow from reserves and put through interest through sewer in order to make up for that, like to pay it back? That would be an option. Use our own reserves as a borrowing mechanism. That would be one of the ways that I could support more. That makes sense.
Well, thanks, Bianca. Like you say, campground, we kind of pretty sure we're not gonna do a campground now that we have one in town. I mean, we might want to do something in Owlhead maybe, but I just thought of that big lump of money there. Just curious, go ahead.
Normally with your reserves, and Bianca's outlined some pieces to it, if you had a project that was coming online, we would bring recommendations to councils for allocations from reserves towards that project or grants or whatever pieces be looked at. So not to move them in reserves unless there's a purpose before council to consider is the normal practice. You don't just transfer them just to have more in one reserve than the other. Particularly if you're borrowing from one reserve that includes your DCC reserves or other pieces like. So there's a complexity to it for our finance department that we don't want to create unless there's a purpose for it. So if there's a project comes forward and we need to look at that, we would certainly be able to look at that, but wouldn't recommend you do it just to create more money in that reserve at this point.
Councillor Bailey and Councillor Rich.
Yeah,
Yeah.
think quite a bit. I've looked at this quite a bit, and I mean, the campground, obviously, we can collapse that reserve. I mean, we can create any kind of reserves that we want. Council has done in the past, right? Reserves are just a lot of money to keep the taxes every year. We're certain buckets, right? And the land purchases, I mean, right there, there's $93,000 that I think we should be moving right towards sewer. We don't need the money. But I think what we need to really do is take a look at, do we need to be spending all of the money in these buckets right now? I mean, there's some things talked about before. We have to plan eventually for a new fire hall, but we haven't done any planning for that at all. So there is some opportunity there to say, you know, what beyond is to borrow from one and then repay when we are actually getting closer to that build, right? I don't know where we are with the fire hall, but you know, we're multiple years away, I think, still from that. And even if we are gonna do the fire hall, we're gonna need a lot more than $250,000 in that. So I think we need to get creative with these reserves on how we're putting that over to sewer and water and some of these immediate critical infrastructure things that we need. And then taking a look at how we come back to finance in future years, some of the building upgrades and stuff. But I think right off the bat, there's an immediate $300,000 there. I know you want to use the campground like to go to so buildings, but I'd rather move that into sewer or water because I think that's critical right now. I think when we get into sewer and water, I mean, there's a lot of options that we have in terms of assets that we have that we could be selling or moving and putting that into reserve too. And that needs to be a discussion. There's ways for us to blunt the impact that we still have water and sewer this year, and then we're gonna have to. There's always going to be something we're going to have to do to find money, but I think there's some definitely maneuverability here that we can use for sewer for sure. And it all comes down to also how much do we have to borrow on what rates that we can get to, because that's an impact on the tax rate as well, so the interest rates. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rich, then Councillor McCabe.
Through the chair, one of the things I don't see there under rec is anything for the ball diamonds. Now, I know we have, I think the grant is what, 5.2 or $5.8 million we're asking for granting. That being said, I just really think we do need to sock some money away for the ball diamonds. We did lose 3 tournaments this year because of the shape of our ball diamonds. We talk about the ball diamonds. We've been talking about them since I've been on council for 4 years. So I'm wondering if that's like, it's not on the radar. So, and the ball diamonds are very expensive to do. Daryl has explained that to us. We talked about doing them at one at a time. I know we have this grant in, but I don't think we can bank on the grant. So do we have any plans on putting some money away so we can just keep upgrading our diamonds, or just maintaining for that matter?
Dean, do you want to address that one?
So we still have our turf management plan in place that was developed last year and implemented for the plugging and sand covering for the fields, redoing the infields. So all of that work is going to carry on. We do have a large grant application to rebuild the fields because they need to be elevated in order to overall deal with the issues. But our ongoing maintenance and our ongoing work to improve our bog fields is going to go ahead. We were out on the field on Tuesday with Everett and Daryl to talk about what those works will be this spring. We're able to get on the fields a lot earlier because the weather's allowed that. So that's good. We did confirm that our ball tournaments that are normally scheduled are proceeding As per last year, same as last year, there was one proposal for a, provincials to be hosted here potentially. And that's not going forward as a request, but the ball tournaments that we had last year are scheduled again for this year. That was confirmed and we're ready to go for that. And we'll be ready in the spring. Fortunately, the weather's been quite cooperative, so we'll probably be ready a little bit earlier than we were in the past. Knock on some wood, we'll see what happens with the snow over the next few weeks, but right now it's looking quite good. We can't get onto the fields until they dry a bit. They're still quite moist. Any machinery moving there will do more damage than help at this point.
Yeah.
Can I-
Thank you.
Colleen?
Mhm.
So, and that's fabulous. I'm really glad that they're working on the ball fields. But are we going to put some money away because we know that they need to be, that it's going to be very expensive, and at some point, like you say, we have to raise them. We do have the grant in. Should we be socking money away? This has been a 4-year conversation about redoing the, one diamond at a time. Do you do everything? How does that happen? And we've been talking about it since I've been on council. Maybe Gord can answer, I think probably before I was on council.
Siobhan, thank you, Siobhan. Bianca, do you want to?
Yeah, so if we were to start socking away money for the ball diamonds to do a full rehab of one ball diamond, because we did go out to an RFP to get numbers last year. I think the lowest bid we got was around $380,000 to do one full rebuild of a ball diamond. So it would, yeah. It's not cheap and would require a tax increase in order to do that.
But there is a program in place right now for maintenance that the guys are doing.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have the grant. We're requesting grant. And I think it's pretty positive that we will get some money from that. And it may not be the whole 5.6 million or 5.7 million that we're asking for. It might be 2 million or 3 million. So, that will definitely help with that for sure. Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, I think that we're gonna learn more with this, with the survey and the public open house of Denison, and there's lots to do there. Not a lot of money. Lots to do there. And who knows, maybe we don't need 4 diamonds, maybe we only need 3, but we'll work on that when we get the study.
Sounds good, thank you. Councillor Bailey, did you have something that you wanted to add?
No, it's just, maybe just a question beyond, like, how do you want us to approach this, or do we even have to? Because I think my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that council can always come back to these buckets at any point in time.
Before you answer, Councillor McCabe, sorry, I missed you there. Did you want to
No,
weigh in?
actually, I didn't have my hand up, so I'm okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Bianca.
And like when it comes to, for example, when we do get a better understanding of the numbers when it comes to sewer, then we can look at the funding mechanisms. So if council were to choose to, borrow from general reserves, when we look back at that funding mechanism, maybe we do need $1 million in debt and we can use $1 million of, between Community Works Fund and our general reserves, we can talk that out. Yeah.
Okay, any more questions, council? Okay, this would be a great time. It's 12 o'clock. Let's take a break. We will come back at 12:45. Are you okay with that? You want to do half an hour? I just have some work to do. Half an hour. Okay, 12:30, we'll be back.
Do I sign out and then sign back in or what?
Welcome. You can just mute and turn off your camera if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just, before I move on to just looking at water and sewer reserves, I just want to bring up kind of a comparative. So how, am I sharing the right screen, Shauna? Okay. Just looking at CPI comparisons on where our tax rate has been over the last, and here I've done 10 years, where BC standard CPI versus our property tax increases. One thing to note would be that BC CPI is not, while you can compare to it, it's not the best, especially for us, because it is based on consumer purchases, which is usually your basics. So your groceries, rent, that sort of thing. Whereas the district has a lot of different purchases. So we have a labor force that we pay for, water treatment plant, chemicals, all of those different elements. But I mean, we could still compare to it. So over the last 10 years, of course, we've had ups and downs in comparison to CPI. So over the last 10 years, cumulatively, we're a little bit below CPI when it comes to our property tax increases compared to CPI. When it comes to water and sewer rates, the last big rate review was done back in 2018. So looking at what's come out of that over the years, we're slightly over CPI, 1.2% over. So pretty close in both. Just wanted to bring up that comparison. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a great comparison to put to, just because CPI is so different than the basket, but it is the most common inflationary tool that people use when comparing for inflation. So just wanted to bring that up, and then just bear with me while I find my right screen. So just going to water and sewer capital outlook, and this is really what is driving rates right now. In water, well, in utilities in general, last year there was the approval of an additional water operator. So we have a half-year additional person. And then just looking at these water and sewer rates. So in 2025, we put no funds away for sewer capital. And we actually drew out about $170,000 for operations that was to do permitting with the province and all of that. This year, again, no funds projected, with a 12% tax increase to put towards reserves because of those permitting and registration processes. Water, last year, I think final numbers came in around 180,000 to reserves. This would put 200 to reserves. And with some larger projects, Capella Riverside main upsizing, membrane replacements, 260,000 for this year. And so sewer, the big project looking forward on is the RIB expansion of rough Class D estimates, $2 million. Super rough, still working on it with the province, but those were the preliminary numbers given. And then also Boutwell lift station upgrade of 650,000. So from there, depleting the capital works fund, close to $1 million, taking from community works fund reserve in order to get those projects going. And then the RIB expansion, as we were talking about before, some form of debt and or borrowing from other reserves. With borrowing from other reserves, there would still be a borrowing aspect to it, because not everyone in the district of Sicamous contributes to sewer, because sewer does not go to all properties within Sycamoose. There's cutoffs where our sewer system does not go. For example, out Husky is the last connection on that side. It doesn't go down like Bruin Road. Yeah, there's sections of the community that don't pay into sewer, and that's kind of why these funds are separate, because they're supposed to pay for themselves. So if we do borrow from general, there will be an interest payment from sewer to general to help offset borrowing from general, which is all taxpayers. Yeah, and then just some other larger projects projected out for water, which is some upsizing and replacement of older pipes. We had Green Road upsizing in there. That is the smallest water in all of Sycamoose. I think it's old and small. So that one was in our 5-year financial plan, and it's being carried forward. I think it's been booted a few times. Balance these out, and also Shishwap to Paradise. Water main upsizing, and in that also has a component to do a little bit of road because it's in there. And the 425 development have contributed to their section in front of that development as well for that. So those are a few of the longer outlook water projects. When it comes to sewer, the big things is keeping up on lift station upgrades, Boutwell, which needs the biggest upgrade of the lift stations, and that rib expansion. With that.
Council, any comments? Councillor Bailey, then Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that we're not just gonna be able to get out of what we have to do in the next coming years with just tax increases and fee increases on sewer and water without it having a very dramatic effect, I think, on people and pocket funds. Like, we have assets in this municipality that we need to be looking at whether we're using this properly. I think we need to sell some things. And I think we have land that we can sell to put towards sewer fund, to put towards this critical infrastructure that would do a lot more good than what they're doing now. I mean, we can talk about what that list looks like. I mean, I have some in my mind. I think we have some that we've already identified that money should be coming to us, that we should be putting in the sewer. But you know, I seriously think we should be looking at villas in place to see that can be sold and that can go towards sewer reserves. We have to get the ultimate real kind of sense of what this is going to cost us. Like a Class D estimate is just, I mean, it could be 2 million and actually come out to 3 million, and we actually have to have a better sense of that first. But we know we need millions, right? That's the bottom line. And to buy and to borrow as well is the problem. That'll just go hit our general taxation. So we need to take a look at what we have that we are able to sell that has biggest positive impact for our ratepayers, that would downside effect. And I think we have those properties, we have that ability. So that's what I really want to look at, because trying to get us out of this hole, so to speak, just by increasing water and sewer rates, I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to be such a huge burden on ratepayers that you can't do it that way at home. There will have to be some increases, but you know, we start taking a look at the projections out that you put together. That's multiple increases for the 5-6 years, probably even further. We have to come up with a better way, and I think that's something we need to focus on. I'm not comfortable with the 12% increase. I've said that before. We're at 2.1% in terms of CPI. It is a blunt instrument in terms of saying, well, that's how much prices have gone up. It's not. I don't think that really is how people feel. I think people feel that it's a lot more than that. Certainly, food inflation is a lot more than that, and that's something that really hurts households. And we just need to be cognizant of that. That, you know, we're talking about a 2% inflation increase, probably a little bit more in terms of ordinary people and everyday folks are feeling in their actual day-to-day living. So to put these increases on, it's just something that I think we need to look at every alternative before we do this. Because I think we have some really good ones in front of us and we could possibly to a much better there. The other thing I like to say, it's not just about keeping the fees low. It's about Sycamore's having a competitive advantage with other towns. I think we're doing really well. I think people are looking at this town to invest in. I think people are wanting to build this town because we do have a really nice cost structure in terms of, you know, we're not raising taxes double digits. We're at 3 this year. We don't want to lose that. We want to make sure we're the most competitive town around. If you come and you're like, hey, I want to invest in a town, everyone says, hey, that needs to be Sycamore's because look at this ongoing good fiscal management and reasonable cost of living is, I think, one of our best selling points. So that's the other reason I don't want to increase water and sewer to a point of where it hurts our competitive advantage. We've got to find a way to finance it. That's no question about that. It's just how, and I think we can find a better way.
Thank you. Councillor Bushel.
Thank you through the chair.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Ian. And just the other part too is to look at our revenue side. You have to look at every angle. And, you know, when we talk about the Shell dump site, RV dump site, we talk about truck waste, you know, increasing those fees to compete with Revelstoke and Kamloops and other areas. We, you know, were we really conservative on our revenue budget numbers, like, or because they were pretty close. You know, there has been some new development, but including any of our new developments coming online that'll be ready this spring, like, which, I mean, that's kind of the seniors housing kind of it's a, what do you call it?
Mood.
Neutral. But the one out on the highway, they'll be moving in this spring. Are you pretty confident about your revenue side being the budget number you use?
Yeah, and also one of the things proposed to help offset some of the underfall would be pretty much doubling trucked waste fees. Because our fees are low. So bringing it up to market from elsewhere. So that increase is about $20,000 right there. So that's already being included. Yeah.
And did we do anything with the Shell at all, with regards to their sandy dump?
If we would like to start collecting them, the one mechanism that we would be able to do, that we would have to do would be a sewer meter. So when we did that with the houseboat companies, that's what we did with the houseboat companies. And at that time, the district put in the sewer meters at about $12,000 a pop. So that would be the only mechanism right now that we could do. And we have no idea what the historical rate going down is. Right now, they are technically paying in sewer on anything that comes out of the water pipe that gets used, but that's probably not getting the same cubes that it's going into the sewer.
Yeah, and to be fair with the houseboat companies, they pay it's a high concentrate.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the same sewage. It's a high concentrate. And, you know, it might be an option to talk to them and say, you know, it's not fair for the houseboat companies to be paying the high concentrate unless you upgrade your meter, you know, you upgrade your meter at your cost, or we got to look at something different cost sharing things.
That would be adding a meter. They don't have a sewer meter. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to pay for the adding of the meter, because that does bring a lot of, supposedly you're not supposed to dump unless you fill up your fuel there. So it is a revenue generating item for them, but not the taxpayers.
Yeah, so and if council would want to direct staff to do that, we can, and we could report back. Only risky part I would find there is, well, I mean, it can just be a conversation, but if they close that site, because they would 100% have the option to do so. And in which case, we would not have a site for anyone to dump RVs. They would, the next closest one would be Salmon Arm, which Salmon Arm currently has their free site at the mall, and then they have their new site, which I believe is $10 to dump, closer to Westgate Mall in Salmon Arm. So just food for thought on that.
Exactly, weighing the options of, is that traffic gonna just drive through town, or those folks stopping in town, or, you know, so, yeah, I guess it is a bit of a double-edged sword to either them closing it or not. Siobhan?
Through the chair, yeah, I agree with Ian too, and I think we do need to look, Kelly did a pretty intense report for us. I believe it was about 2 years ago, about all the land holdings we have. And I think we need to go back and look at that we've got a lot of property that we don't use and may not ever be useful for taxpayers. So I think we need to take a look at that and maybe, you know, have a little bit of a sale and put that into our sewer. Because this tax increase is not a one-time, this is going to be ongoing. And other things are going to break, right? We've got the things we have on our list right now, but there will be more expenses. So I don't think just taxation is going to be able to cover this, or we're just going to be, the sewer and water taxes are just going to keep going up and up and up. I appreciate what staff is doing and the way it's done, but I think also as a council, we need to look at maybe giving them some more money towards sewer, so we're not just taxing people.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I just want to kind of go like how to do this in terms of looking at how to, so I guess I'm kind of looking at the guide. I mean, what should our next steps be? I think we really should look at beefing it up through asset sales. And how do we want to kind of do that?
Through the chair, I think asset sales, if you want to put it towards like the rib expansion or whatever, like we could explore that. As for the ongoing contributions to reserves for sewer, I don't see that as a like asset sales as a solution for that. Like annually, we should be putting probably around $200,000 to sewer reserve. So if we were to not do an increase this year, I just fear that like when our user fee review is done, it's gonna be, okay, this is where we need to come to, and now it's 24% because we didn't do the 12.
I certainly understand that.
Yeah.
But I think if we are able to sell some assets, we're able to cover off even the stuff that we have on our books this year.
Correct.
That can stay in reserves. We can get a little bit more of a runway. By selling assets, we can get some more runway to build up the reserves over time, right? If we're trying to do this whole spend on building up these reserves, these are going to be huge increases, is my point, right? I don't think we're going to get there under just trying to raise sewer and water rates to get our reserves to where we need to be. I just don't see how that can possibly happen without multi-year double-digit increases. The math is there, I think. So then that comes back to, I don't think that's sustainable. So if we sell stuff this year, we get this going and not try to kick the can down the road to the next council.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of different councils actually deal with this. We know this is a problem. So we should get into this, right? And we should get into selling now. So the next council will come in and we'll have a better footing to manage these increases. But if we just kick it off for another year, I'm kind of worried that, new folks around the table and maybe a little less understanding about water and sewer, they don't see water and sewer. But we just have to do something about it. I don't think trying to say to staff, hey, try to keep water rates down while us doing the necessary expenditures and what we have to do is a realistic practical. So I think we need to identify what we can sell, the money that we get, and just come up with a plan.
I am just gonna interject. I agree. You know what? Money is selling our assets down the road. We're not gonna sell them tomorrow. It's a bit of a process. So if that's what council chooses to do, if that's their appetite to put that money away towards sewer down the road, that's definitely something that we could look at. Perhaps council could, put together estimates on what those pieces of property are worth, and, we could market them. But the other thing is, we are gonna have to continue to, in taxes, put money away for water and sewer, for infrastructure. We still need to continue to do that because you're right, no one wants to get hit with 12%. So we need to keep putting money away. Our expenses are going up too, like every other business in town. Our expenses are growing, their expenses are growing. I think keeping this down to 3.1 is like really, really positive, but we still need to keep putting money into reserves for that rainy day. We can't not. So we do need to find ways to find cash to eventually fund that big sewer bill that at some point in our life we're going to have. So I agree, and maybe that's, Bianca and then Siobhan.
If council would like to make a motion to direct staff to bring back a report on lands with the intention of putting that to utility reserves in order to mitigate ongoing
Bigger loans.
yes.
It will be a loan at the end of the day. Sorry, Bianca. It's going to be a loan. It'll be a debt at the end of the day.
No, that's fine.
We just need to say it out loud because we look at all the communities around us, right? And the debt that they're taking on with their wastewater. So, our team right now is doing a brilliant job of the fourth rib and keeping it down and making that more manageable and usable. And giving us more years right now. So we are looking to down the road to make sure that we can put as much money away into that fund so we don't have to borrow as much money. But if council wants to make a motion that we look at assessing the value of the property that we have for sale and looking at the big picture of property, it's not gonna fit into this particular budget, but it will moving down the road going into utilities.
Well, yeah, I'll make that motion, that we take a look at all the assets that we have that are possible sale that will be used in our sewer and water infrastructure. I do think. So there's a couple of things here, so I'd like to make that motion and then maybe just.
Sorry, and Pam, okay.
Okay, and then just speak to the nuance around it. So we have before us like was it 12.7% sewer increase and 6. So those increases are partly come because we're trying to get our reserves up and covered, correct? And if we're gonna be looking at selling, then I don't think we necessarily just have to say we need 12.7% increase. So we're gonna sell some assets that will have that money flow into the coffers that will replace that. We need to put money in, right? We don't need to do it just through rate increases if we sell assets. Now, if we don't, we have to, we probably, 12.7 is probably not enough, it probably is better. Well, actually, you said it in
24.
Yeah, you said it in your report that this is only 50% desired. If we wanted to actually do it through that way. If we sell land, get this done in hopefully our term, then that can be used for the reserve and we can forego 12.7% increase. I'd like to get that down into single digits because I don't think all this sustainable for people. I don't think people can afford it. I think we can do it in other ways. So we do need to look at how we can build it up over time. If we get this fourth rib, depending on how fast we develop the town, this could last 15 years. Then the town needs to say in 15 years, what is that 15-year plan? Like, how much are we putting towards sewer over that? Just gotta get over this hump. But then, once we're over this hump, we gotta do a long-term plan on what the next iteration of sewer and water looks like as the town grows. Unfortunately, these are things that, you know, everyone likes to get down the road because it is a direct impact, but how I see it is we're not gonna solve this problem just by, you know, these increases.
No.
We'll have to sell some stuff. Get it directed towards this. Then after we get this done, we have a 15-year runway thereabouts until we max out on this upgrade. And we can do that gradually without total shock at all in terms of rates. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Javon? Oh,
Yeah, it has to be a hybrid solution. I think we're gonna have tax increases. There's just no way around that. But then I think there's other ways, and selling property may well be one of them, to kind of buffer the tax increases going forward. Because like Bianca said, this is a forever thing. This is not we buy one and then it's done. We're gonna have to continue to upgrade and expand and do all the things that the governments want us to do. So I think it needs to be hybrid.
thank you.
Just clarification, so you started a resolution. Do we have a resolution? Do we have a second?
Yeah, Pam seconded, and that was to have staff explore. Yeah, and I think it was kind
Staff bring back
of property, but I think we're still in a
Yeah.
conversation mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Develop a list.
Yeah, exactly.
I can read it if you like, but I
Sure.
think that they're.
Gord, do you want to go first?
Through the chair, thank you. Bianca, can you just confirm, because our last February 12th meeting, I had to leave and I wasn't here for the vote, but when you read the minutes, it said to instruct staff to carry on with the proposed rates, and the proposed rates were at that time 12 and 22%. So are we talking 12 and 22% now?
Talking 6 and 12
Yeah, and have we got a chart for that?
of what it looks like, and it was included in
Because I mean, it wasn't on this agenda.
the last agenda.
But that was what the minutes read, to carry on with that chart, you guys voted on that chart. I wasn't here.
So just for clarity, so that was for a 2026 project to restructure rates for 2027.
Yeah.
And that was just a high level, what it could look like.
Yeah, for clarification, and it should reflect this, is that it was to continue on with the review.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So. Just gonna.
What I was saying, if we could get,
Just get copies of the revised, back down to 6 and 12. That would be great.
Yeah, so 6 and 12, and this is just from the last budget, was total $993.58 annually for water and sewer for the average user, which is 200 cubes on a 3/4 inch line. So that'd be up from 913 previous year.
So just the resolution 2604 was that council direct staff to move forward with the restructuring of water and the sewer fees. Right?
For 2027.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And I just think that we need to be cautious. We do need to put money into our reserves, because even selling property and putting that into utilities, we still need to make sure that it's not a big shocker if something happens and, we have a double-digit tax increase. The staff is doing a brilliant job, but we just need to make sure that we are doing what communities do, and that's putting money into, some communities, some face the wrath when they're not putting money into reserve. So we need to be cognizant of that.
Yeah, and I know
Okay,
Some other CFOs I see doing is starting to compare what that actually looks like on a monthly basis, a daily basis, and kind of comparing it to other utilities that you use. Like on a monthly basis, we're looking at about $83 a month, $2.72 a day with these new increases. So putting that in perspective, so your cell phone bill, your internet, like, I know it all adds up and it's all getting expensive, but in the grand scheme of things, to flush your toilet and do your laundry. Yeah.
yeah, Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, and Councillor Bailey alluded to this, is that part of what's going to pay for these reserves as we keep putting this away is the development that we've got going on when these new buildings are occupied, and we're getting money from that. And it's just so important, because it's like, on a microcosm idea basis, it's the same as me having to put away money for my oil change and towards the next car fund, because it's going to happen, and we just have to do this stuff. So I agree, a hybrid is, we got to try and sell some land that we don't need and put it towards it, but we're still going to have to put money away, and it's just a fact of life.
Okay, so I think that we've got a resolution on the floor. We got a first and a second. Is there anything new that anyone wants to add to that? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay. Sure.
What venue are we gonna deal with this next at, like a cow meeting? Okay, all right.
Probably once we get through all of this and everything settles down a tiny bit.
Why is this here not nice?
Not done. But we do have to, it is, I get it, but it's part of our infrastructure, and we need to continue to put it in reserves too. Okay, because we don't know how quick property is going to sell here either, right? So, and it's not flying off the shelves here. And the pieces that we do have. So, okay, so let's move on. Bianca, go ahead.
No, at this point, that's all I have. So I will wrap it up and bring it to a committee of the whole. A committee of the whole will tie everything up there. That will feed into bringing the financial plan bylaw and the tax rates bylaw. Usually I like to stagger those by a week, just because the financial plan ties into the tax rates bylaw. If you change anything in the financial plan, you have to change the other one. So I'll do that. And yeah, the legislative requirement is to have your financial plan completed and adopted before May 14th. So pretty much the budget will hit every meeting until we get to that deadline.
Okay, perfect. All right, so is that it, Bianca? Are we ready for public input? We have 15 minutes for public input for those of you online and in the gallery. Allocated 3 minutes each. So anyone in the gallery? Head up to the podium and state your name, please.
Good afternoon, Mary Walters, representing the Sacred Seniors Activity Center. I would like to thank you all for your vote of confidence and support of our Seniors Activity Center. We are a very busy place. I've been doing some tallying, and we have like 145 people through there in a week. And now we're being asked to take on another program, the Meals to Meals program as well. So we are very busy, and I really, really appreciate your support, as do all the board of directors. And I appreciate all Bianca's work on this.
Absolutely.
It's been a thorough going through. So thank you again.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mayor.
Anyone else in the gallery? Go ahead, Kelly.
Kelly Castleton. Yeah, you guys can't have enough credit, and there needs to be a lot more people than are sitting in the chairs here today, understanding what's going on, decisions that are being made on our behalf as a taxpayer. I respect that trying to find a middle ground on the taxpayers and the voters on the muscle thing. And I'm sitting here going, oh, maybe, we could do what you suggested at the end. I mean, we're looking at 500, but I was pleasantly pleased to hear, that we're gonna take control of it to some degree on our own, because everything starts at home. When you spend money, if you look after yourself, then you actually benefit from that. And I think if you can create some jobs in the community, so maybe you can have an interest in that world. And even if they don't, you'll be glad to make some money this summer. The lack of education, I have no doubt that our council might have things to a greater degree than the general public does, because we all don't hear things the same way. And so a vote that was so lopsided in a town that's got so much water, I mean, I am not a water baby, but I mean, it's obvious to me that we might be missing something. So bringing in and wanting to cover that, for those that might have misunderstood that, I think is part of what you do as council, and I for one appreciate that. But again, coming to a resolution that works, like, congratulations, you guys, that's awesome. And I go out in the world and I talk about all these things as well, because I keep trying to tell people that this is where it matters. I mean, you can come to the other meetings, but this at the end of the day is ultimately where all the sticks are piled up for the next group. And good on you for not wanting to kick things down the road either. I have one request that you could possibly put in your budget, and that is Canadian flag and the BC flag on highway number 1 definitely need to be replaced. They're very shabby. And I would appreciate that proudness on my roadways. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, anyone else in the gallery?
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning, District and Council. Thank you for having me. I'm here to represent the District Chamber of Commerce and our 120 plus members. We did send the email out originally. We have doctored the percentages as we had them wrong in the original email based on the big forecast of 12 to 24%. Mayor and Council, the proposed increases in taxes and water and sewer rates are concerns for all of the Chamber of Commerce on behalf of our local business members. Communities and businesses are facing challenges in the financial climate. Prices for everything from insurances to supplies, rent, employee wages are on the rise. On top of these, our members are now confronting not only a further tax increase of which I heard is 3.1 now. According to your latest draft, which is beyond the rate of inflation, combined with significant hikes of 6 and 12% in water. These compounding effects of these increases create a domestic sustainable environment for those trying to operate and invest in our community. Furthermore, the draft is projected out to 2030 with significant increases that appear to be double digits in both water and sewer. Additionally, there is 1.57 million listed debt. Changing this debt will require financing and additional costs to the taxpayer. Water and sewer are basic necessities for any business, not optional expenditures. Unlike other costs, there's little room for our members to reduce these usages or find savings to offset these increases. The reality is that these proposals will drive operating costs around the board with no corresponding improvement in our services. It's especially concerning that we're seeing these step increases at a time and responding to some positive momentum in our economy, our new housing that's being built, business owners are expanding and entrepreneurs are investing in our community. Some have even contributing to address the housing shortage by adding rental suites, bringing new families and their business into the area. The proposed rate structures will now penalize these proactive solutions with additional charges discouraging the very growth that we. Every increase, whether it's our tax or utility, makes it harder to develop property, expand operations, or start new ventures. When the costs of connecting to essential services rise, the price of new construction and housing goes up, putting further strain on affordability and stalling our investments. Our nonprofit organizations are also at risk. Many operate on minimal budgets and are already stretched thin, with both taxes and utilities set to climb. These organizations face tough choices to either scale back their services or seek additional help from taxpayers, creating a cycle that's difficult to break. It's important not to justify these increases by comparing our rates to those of much larger cities. Our economic landscape, scale of operations, available resources are simply not the same. Such comparisons do not reflect our unique circumstances. Local residents and businesses already pay a premium to support the community by shopping and hiring locally. If taxes and utility rates continue to outpace inflation, it becomes even more difficult for families to support our small businesses and for those businesses to stay afloat, especially when wage growth has been stagnant for years. But we had a section in here around being deeply concerned about the recommendation for the allocation of $5,000 to a watershed society that we was voted against. I wanted to make it known to council that there are 5 other organizations that monitor the watershed here. So to say that it's only the watershed council that cares about our water is absolutely false. Before approving a tax site for a substantial increase in utility rates without added service for our members in the broader community, we urge council to pause and consider more sustainable alternatives. Let's focus on core municipal services, look for internal savings before passing on higher costs to those who keep our economy running. My background, for those of you who don't know, is in planning and supply chain. When we were looking for budget cuts, we went to our manufacturers, our construction companies, our water chemical providers, and said, we want you to find us 10%. Many of them came back and said, "Sorry, we can't do it. We can find you 2, or we can find you 8, we can find you 7, but it's a lot more than 0. So I think we need to look at those kind of opportunities. Good governance means exhausting every opportunity to control costs, ensuring contractors and suppliers are delivering value, and aligning growth with our infrastructure capacity before asking for taxpayers to pay more. So as a chamber and as a taxpayer, I just want to ask that we please sharpen our pencils on the supplier side before reaching into the pockets of the people that we should serve.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you.
Tammy?
Anyone else in the gallery? Anyone online? Okay. Well, it is 1:15. We are going to adjourn this finance committee meeting. Thank you all for being here. Could I get a mover? Councillor Bailey, seconder. Councillor Bushell, all in favor, and we are done. Thank you everyone online, and thank you everyone in the gallery for being here.